All right, cool. So for this first question, I'm going to go ahead and drop, I have a little script in here that I'm going to open up to find one of y'all. Margot, what's a database?
We said it holds the information for your app, including all the data tables.
Yep, holds information for your app. And when we talk about information, we're talking about like, oh, there we go. When we talk about information, we're talking about like tables and any resources that are in the tables. And actually, let me reword that. You'll hear us use this word like resources. And when I say resources, I'm referring to like a table that you have, like a place where your objects are getting stored, those rows are stored. So you kind of hear those interchangeably. Tables are resources, and then like raw data that's in the tables. Cool. And then what is SQL? Let's go ahead with Colin. I think, Colin, are you on here today? I don't think I saw you in there. Let's go ahead and jump to Fred. What is
So
SQL?
I said it, oh, sorry. SQL is structured query language and just basically a way to interact with the database.
Yep, you got it. So it's the language that we use to interact with the database. Cool. What's a table? And we kind of just said this. David.
A collection of information, usually like identified with headers.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to use that word resource again. I'm going to use, and then use your words of, it holds a collection of information. Information is separated using headers. We could say something like that. So stored under different headers. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Okay. Let's do both of these in one. So what's a primary key and a foreign key? Ryan.
A primary key is a unique identifier that is created for each row in a table, and a foreign key is another table's primary key referenced to link the two pieces of information together.
Cool. Yeah, does that look all right what I typed there, Ryan, for what you had said? Oops. So unique ID created for each row in a table. This is created automatically. And then your foreign key, you have to set that up. But ID, that's referencing another resource or table.
Looks good. Cool.
I'm also going to add on to here, it lives on a table that has a belongs to relationship. So if something has a belongs to relationship, to know what it belongs to, it's going to have that foreign key on there. And then let's go ahead and let's break, actually, yeah, let's break this up. And this is kind of what we're going to focus on today, these last few here. I know you did them in your pre-work. There's a little bit more that we're going to go over today that's not listed here, but we're going to look into those a little bit more in detail. So Andy, what does select do?
It just grabs the data out of a table, selects the data.
Cool. And you say this word data. When you talk about selecting something from a table, can you be a little bit more specific? Does select help us grab rows, or does it help us grab columns?
It grabs both. I mean, it grabs rows, but we can specify which columns in the row we want to see.
Yeah. So this select, when you say like select something, you're specifically saying like select this column from a resource. So we could say something like select the title from songs, or select length from songs. And we're saying like what column do we want to grab from that resource? So I'm going to put here grabs, oops. Grab specific columns out of a table. How about this where? Javi, what does where do? Oops. There you are. Can you go ahead? I can't really hear you, Javi. I think you might be having mic issues. There you go. Try that now.
Okay, yeah. Aware, so like a condition, specifying when you're doing your selects, you can add it as a condition for if it meets that condition. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you got it. It's just that like trying to figure out how to say it part. But yeah, that where, when I think about where, you're right. I would use that word condition of like, or like criteria, right? So we're looking for specific rows. So I'm going to put that here, grabbing specific rows that match a specific or certain criteria or condition. So when we say like, let's say we're trying to be like, okay, select all the songs where the play count is greater than 1,000. I'm selecting rows where the play count of those songs is greater than 1,000. So that play count greater than 1,000 is that certain criteria or condition that I'm looking for. But where is grabbing specific rows. How about order by? What does order by do? Oh, Javi, cut you again. Tyler Porter.
Not positive, but
That's okay.
don't remember all the way, but I'm assuming just orders the data by a specific criteria.
Yeah, cool. You got it. Orders data by specific criteria. There are defaults to this. So if you're ordering something that is a string, it'll automatically order it alphabetically. If you're ordering something that's numeric, it'll automatically order it in ascending order. And there's ways to go around that, but I'm going to put that here as like defaults are alphabetical or numeric. So like if you're ordering something that's a string, it's going to be in alphabetical order A through Z. If you're ordering something that is a number, then it will be numeric in ascending order. Cool. And then this last one, the limit, I don't know why this is doing this. Okay. Limit, y'all worked with a little bit, and this one sounds or does just what it does. I'm going to keep going. This is random, so might get some same people. Mike, what does limit do?
Limit just tells you how many results you can return. So if you limit 2, you're only going to get 2 results. If you limit 10, you get 10 results. Yeah,
you got it. I'm trying to think of a way to word this other than using the word limiting in this definition here. So I'm just going to put.
I wrote down cut down number of returned results.
Okay. So returns only a certain.
Yeah, restrict.
Number. Oh. Okay, 2 different ways to say it. Let me take a look at this chat really quick. Oh, we're getting all the words. Okay. Cool. Any questions on this warm-up? Let's go ahead and, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. Great. Let's go ahead and take 5 minutes. I'll keep a timer up here on the board. Let's take 5 minutes, and when we come back, we'll jump into some code.
Hey Meg, I was watching one of your videos that you recorded before, and I have to tell you that it was super. Meg, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Meg?
Yeah, what's up?
I was just saying that I was watching one of the videos that you recorded, I guess last mod or maybe the mod before,
Uh-huh.
and it was really creepy to hear students in the classroom. Someone sneezed and it was like scary. I was like, "Whoa, don't sneeze. Don't
That's
sneeze
funny.
near me."
I find myself sometimes I'll like watch TV and I'm like, wow, they're really close to each other. Just like it's like ingrained in my head right now to give everyone space.
Right? It's so scary.
Yeah.
It's like weird.
Should we be able to run RSpec in the?
Yeah. Is that
Why
not working?
do I need to? Oh, hold on. I already forgot how to run RSpec. So
You might need to run bundle exec rspec on this one.
I was running bundle spec RSpec. It's working, I think. Okay.
I think you should have like 30 some tests or something like that. Tony, you're having an issue on yours? If you run bundle exec rspec, what happens? Yeah, you're muted.
I get a traceback. It says bundler 1.17.2 issue.
Okay.
I think it has cannot load such file bundle. So I guess I need to do the bundle install.
I did a bundle update.
A
and
bundle
that worked for me.
update.
Yeah, so if you do a bundle it.
I had that same problem, and I went back to what David had suggested in the first week, where it was like gem update system, and then gem bundle update bundler or something, or bundle update bundler, and then that should fix the problem for you to allow to do the bundle install.
Yeah, and Brian also just commented on here that he did the gem install bundler 1.17.3. I am not sure why you're on 0.2. I've never seen anyone on that version, but I think it should work if you're on 1.17.3. You might need to uninstall gem uninstall bundler first and then do that. So try that. We don't need it quite yet, so you have a little bit anyway. All right.
Just doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just doing what Brian did is what helped.
Okay, cool.
Or what?
Nice. Thanks, y'all. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's jump into this. So I'm using the most recent version of setlist that y'all have. I told you to clone down. Let's stop this right now. Actually, it's fine. I told y'all to clone down that Little Shop repo, and we'll use that as your own practice once we're done going through this. So if it's not working quite yet, that's okay. We can do it during the next POM, try and figure that out. You don't want errors on it, Ethan. Well, if you all are having issues, we'll figure that out during the next POM, but we have some time before you actually need it. Just to get started, let's go ahead and look. So this is what we're going to be going over today. Like I said, the select, where, order by, and limit, y'all have seen before. Pluck and distinct is kind of new. We'll go over them. Distinct we won't go into too much detail on, but for the most part, all of these we'll have some practice before the end of today. And again, we're going to do this in your setlist app. So what I'm showing you right now is the seeds file in setlist. I just did this right now. This is the only thing that is not pushed up to master that you all don't have. I will push this up once I'm done with everything, but for right now, for this lesson, I'm gonna ask that you all don't code along with it and just kind of watch me, take some notes. You all will have plenty of time to practice this once we're done going through this. So I'm just gonna kind of run through some examples and then let you all go on your own practice in your own breakout groups. So what I'm doing right here in this seed file is I just created 3 artists and I created a few different songs for those artists. I have this up here at the top so that if I were to run rake db seed more than once, it doesn't keep creating them over and over again. So it just like removes them all and then does it again. If you don't have this and you seed more than once, you'll get duplicates in your database. Mike, I think you raised your hand. Did you have a question?
Yeah, before we get too started, you had talked about resource. Are you going to go into more detail as to what resource means? I feel like that was an important general concept.
Well, I use that word resource to say like a table. If I were to say a resource, I'm referring to a table in the database.
So it's just a table?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so we use those words interchangeably a lot of times. Just a place where you're storing objects, where you're storing raw data that our active record turns into objects. Okay, so I have all this set up here, and the way that I get this into my development database is by running Rails DB seed. Let me get out of this. Make sure I'm in here. Cool. So if I run Rails DB seed, it won't. If it worked fine, I shouldn't see anything returned to me. So I think that worked. To check, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into my console. So jump into Rails C, and I'm just going to run song.all. We're used to doing something like this, that .all, that's familiar to us. And it looks like I have all of those songs that came back to me. So I really like you. I've seeded this more than once, so that's why these IDs are off. But I've already seeded it before this class started to make sure that I had my seed file all working. So this is all there. If I look at artist.all, I should have 3. I can go ahead and say, let's count them up. I have 3 of them. I can also just check to make sure that I have all the songs. I should have 5. Yep, cool. So I have everything for my seed file. That all looks good. Cool. For this lesson, I'm going to go through how to do something in SQL first, and then jump over to Active Record. So I'm going to create a new tab here, still in the same directory, still in the same repo. And to drop into a session to play around with SQL, there's 2 things that you can do. You can either, if you're currently in the repo, which we are, you can go ahead and just run Rails DB console. And one word, no colon. I know we're used to having like a colon after the DB, but Rails DB console will get you into a practice SQL session. The other way to do it is in your lesson plan. Let me pull up your lesson plan just so y'all can see this. What are we doing today? There you go. Okay, this right here. So you might find yourself needing to run it this way if you're not currently in your repo that you want to drop into the database of. So if you weren't in this repo and you wanted to jump into a local development database from anywhere on your computer, then you would use this command here. But so just know that this is a thing. You have to say this like PSQL practice SQL session --db name, and then you just paste the development database name, and then it'll drop you into that database. But we were already in that repo, so I just jumped right into it by doing that Rails DB console. And again, this over here, the active record, to jump into this, we just did Rails C. Cool. Good. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is getting all from, like I already went into this active record session and I said song.all. Song.all. That's something that we're used to with active record. This .all, that's an active record method that goes into your database, goes to the songs table, and it grabs all of that resource. If we're doing that in SQL, to be able to select all of something, we can use the little star. So we can say select star from songs. to talk about the way that like this is kind of like syntactically set up, this right here, you'll see a lot of times in SQL that these SQL commands are capitalized. This is not necessary in order for it to run, but it's convention that like when you're looking at SQL commands, when you're writing them, that you'll see anything that comes from SQL, like any of these commands are going to be capitalized, and it's just a way to like be able to read it a little bit better, but it's not necessary in order for it to run. So select all, that star tells me all, from songs. This right here, so these are the parts that you need in order to select something. You need to know which table you're actually selecting it from. So if I run this, I get a nice, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see a nice table here. And that, again, that all, this select talks about the columns that you want to get returned. I could say something here like select title from songs. And again, that I don't have them capitalized, but it shouldn't be an issue. And it gives me back just the titles of those songs. I could do more than one. I could say select title and length from songs. And then I get both of those back. So you can list them out here. What you will see a lot is, can you all see this down here at the very bottom? You see that on my screen share, all right? Okay. Sometimes you'll see like songs.title and songs.length. And this is just like being very specific as far as this title attribute comes from the songs table. This is not necessary to do when you are just pulling something from one table, but as soon as you get into, and we'll talk about joins next week, joining tables together and being able to like pull things out from multiple tables, it's really important to get into this habit of like specifying where this attribute comes from. So you'll see that I tend to do this a lot, even though I'm just pulling from one table and there's no like, there's no clash in knowing where the attribute came from because we're only pulling from one table. So if I did it like this, that still works just the same way. Again, this right here is referencing the table that it's coming from. Tyler, did you have a question?
Yeah. So why would we need to specify there if we're also specifying which table is coming from by saying from songs?
Yeah, you don't need to here. It's just a habit that you'll get into, or that I would like to see y'all get into. And let's actually jump over to Active Record and kind of look at this. So this song.all, that gave me back all of my songs. If I say song dot, let's actually look at the select. So if we say like select, oops, colon title, meaning like let's just select the title from all of our songs, then you'll notice here that we get, actually let's kind of, I want to come back and talk about like what this is actually returning to us. But if you look at this, when I run .to SQL to see like what is the actual SQL command that this got translated into, there we go. It actually does create it so that it says songs.title. So it gets translated to that for you. So your SQL can do it without you putting this songs dot, but it will automatically put that on there even with Active Record, just to be more specific. Kind of going back to this though, I want to take a look at this return value that we had up here. And let's do this. So when we said song.select colon title, we got all of that back that was above there. And I'm just going to grab the first one out of it so we can look at that a little bit better. Notice I'm only selecting the title. And what do you notice about this return value that's like a little bit off? Maybe we weren't quite expecting it by making this query command. Hands up for this. What do you see that's like a little off? Colin?
First thing that popped out to me is that it's got a nil ID.
Yeah, so this ID is nil, which like usually when we see that, we're like, oh, this wasn't saved to the database. But what's actually happening is we're saying select only the title. And so it's only giving you back the title, even though it's giving you back song objects, it's only giving you back what you are asking it to give back to you. Just like if we were doing this in SQL and we say like select the title, if we look back up to this one, it only gives us back titles. It gives us back nothing else. Active record is something that like it's like frustrating, the return values of active record, because sometimes it's a little unexpected or it doesn't quite give back exactly what you would expect it to, right? It's unexpected. If we were to say like, let's just play around with this a little bit, select title, let's say we wanted the length as well, then it would give that back to us. But notice I don't have play count. If I were to say, let's actually just like assign this to a variable so we can play around with it. So if I were to say like song.title, it knows what that is because I selected title. I also selected length. So if I say song.length, it knows what that is. But if I were to say song.playCount, when I haven't selected play count, it doesn't know what that is because I haven't actually selected it. Or if I were to say like song.id, it doesn't know what it is. So if you only want like specific things to come back, you would use a select for that, but you only are able to call on those attributes that you've selected. That's a little tricky thing with active record. Questions on that, Tyler?
So is active record always going to return an object?
Yeah. Yeah, so active record is still going to return, well, I'm not going to say always, because you will see there are some active record methods that don't return objects. And we'll talk about one of those in a little bit. But if it's something where it's like querying the database to get either a row or a column out of, then it's going to be still wrapped as an object, like it's going to act like an object, but it might not have everything there if you've selected specific attributes. Yeah. But if you wanted everything, this song.all is like always, this returns all of them, but if you wanted to just like start your query off of this, it would assume you're selecting everything. And you'll see that in a second too. Any questions on select?
Back to what you just said there.
Yeah.
So the all basically is running a SQL command of select star from songs, and that gives you access to everything. That's why we haven't had this issue before.
Correct. Yeah. If I did this like song.all.to_SQL just to see what it's doing, it's saying select songs.star. So like everything from songs. That's what it got translated into.
And so that's why in our adopt don't shop, we've never ran into an issue where you couldn't access song.id or song or pet.name or whatever.
Exactly. Yep, because it gave back everything to you. And you know, like even if I were to say like song.find by the ID of 6, this find is an active record method. And let's look at this. This is going to be a little bit, we haven't really seen all of the SQL yet, but let's go ahead and just see. Oops. To SQL. Well, we can kind of see it up here. Select songs.star from songs where the song ID is whatever we just put in. So you can see like even though we didn't put that .all there, it's still going to return everything from whatever our return value is. All right, I'm gonna jump over to this just so we have like a little place where we can kind of put this and just put my 2 examples that I put down here. So one of them was select all from songs, and then we need that little semicolon there. I'm going to put this like songs.title as one example. And then the other one that we did was for active record song.select, and then you can just put your attribute that you want to select there. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's jump to the next one that I want to go over. So starting in SQL, let's actually, I'm going to think back. Tyler, you asked this question of like, is everything going to be an object? So I kind of want to address that next. There is something called pluck, which I have down here. And what pluck does, pluck is only an active record command. There isn't one for SQL. And this active record command, it returns an array, like a literal array, not an active record association that looks like an array. It returns a literal array of the attributes you asked for. So this one I'm not going to start with in SQL. This is just for active record. And again, just addressing this first since this was a question that came up. So if I go over to active record, I'm in my Rails C right now. And if I were to say song.pluck name or title, you can see I just get back this array. So if you ever just wanted to get like an array of actual attributes back, just strings coming back to you, then you can use this pluck. The thing with pluck though you have to be careful of is that since it isn't just a literal array, you can't chain any other active record methods off of it. So like, and this might make a little bit more sense the more we go into some active record methods, but if I were to say like where play count is greater than 100, and then I pluck the title from that, oops, I forgot hold on. We'll go into this where in a second, so if you have questions on that, just hold them for now. I might not have any song.where pluck title. Let me get out of this really quick. Let's try this again. There we go. So this right here, this worked of saying like, give me the songs where the play count is greater than 100 and pluck the title. But if I were to try to make these in the opposite direction and say like, okay, pluck the title, and let's drop this where after the pluck. Undefined method where for array. So you have, that's like the one time an active record, and this is like a tricky part with like active record versus SQL. SQL, for the most part, order does matter. There's like a few different commands that you can do in SQL that it's okay if they're in like an opposite order. And we'll talk about order of operations a little bit more when we get to grouping and aggregates in active record and SQL. But the one thing that I want you all to like kind of take away from this is like, okay, there is kind of an order that has to go along with SQL. In active record, the order doesn't necessarily matter because it gets translated into SQL. Like it takes those actions and it puts them into the order that it should be. That's what your ORM is going to do. The only thing that you have to be careful of with active record when it comes to order is something like pluck that doesn't return an active record method, or it doesn't return an active record association, even though it's supposed to take it and rearrange it into the order it should be. That's the one thing that like if you're going to use pluck, it needs to be at the very end of your active record statement. Questions on pluck? I think that one comes in handy a lot, especially when like you need to send something off to the view to just like iterate through one thing and print out things really quick. Okay, so I think I wrote that down in here. Only an active record command that returns an array of the attributes you asked for. And then we'll just put this example in here of song.where. Actually, we'll just put this song.pluck title. Cool. The next one that I want to take a look at is, I wrote like a little thing on my board. Okay, yeah, let's do where next, since we just did that one here. And let's start with this in SQL. So let's say we wanted to get, I'm going to look at let's say I wanted to like find this song. I'm like, okay, I know that there's a song out there called I Really Like You. I want to look for this song. So we can say select, let me take a look at my chat really quick. I can say select, let's say I want everything back, select all from songs. And then using this where here, what comes after the where is going to be a condition that you want to use to get your return values. So let's say I want to find the songs where, again, just getting into this habit of like referencing the table, even though I don't necessarily need to in this case. Songs.title is equal to, and I'm just going to put this in a string, and then end with a semicolon. Let's try this. Cool. So select all from songs where the song's title is I Really Like You. Let me try this really quick because I think that this is an issue that I've run into before, and I just want to, if it is, I want to present it now. Yeah. Okay, your SQL needs to have single quotes, not double quotes. Also, I'm going to point this out too because I feel like a lot of people run into this. If you leave the semicolon off and you try running it, let me get this back in. I'm sure that this is going to happen to some of you when you do this on your own. But if you leave the semicolon off, notice over here, this has an equal sign and then the hashtag. If I hit enter now, it becomes a minus sign. So it's like still waiting for that. Some of you will be like, I don't know, I keep putting in here and it's not working. And if you don't put that semicolon in, then it's not going to complete until you actually put the semicolon there. So just be aware of that like little indicator of like an equal sign means it's ready to take your query. And there we go. That's the one that I wanted. Cool. So we can do it by like saying where something is this. You can also, where is also used a lot of times for conditions. So I could also say something like where the song's length is greater than 200. And we get this back of like 3 songs it looks like satisfy this condition. And if we look at their length, these are the ones that are greater than 200. If I were to say like, select all the songs where songs.length is greater than or equal to, let's keep the 200 in there, see if we have any that are 200. Yep, we get this one now, greater than or equal to, I get this one that has a length of 200. So you can put these conditions in here, and that's honestly like I see this used very frequently of like using these conditions as a condition, right? Greater than or equal to, less than, whatever. In active record for this, so let's go ahead and jump over here and do these same ones. Let me grab this just to put as our example. Oh. Okay. And let's jump over to active record. And so let's go ahead and say song.where. And we're going to look for the name, or sorry, not name, the title to be, and what was it? Oops, I Really Like You. Yeah. Cool. And this is what we get back. Notice we're not saying like song.select the title. We're selecting everything, and you can see how this kind of got translated here. Select songs.all.star from songs where the songs.title is equal to. This over here is just saying like what you put in. This is kind of funky, but this is like where the songs.title is I Really Like You. If I were to say song.select title, where the title is this, then I would get a song object back, but I would just get this title back with that song object. The other example that we did was a where with the conditional. So if we look at this example here where we did where songs.length is greater than or equal to 200, if you want to use a conditional when you're using active record, so let's say we want to do that same thing, but we're using active record because we want to get actual objects back, and we don't want to get just like that raw data back from our tables. Whenever you have to do a comparison operator, you're going to have to do some form of a SQL injection. And SQL injections are totally fine to do. I think that like, because your active record is already getting translated into SQL. When we talk about using, like in your project rubrics, it'll say like, use active record whenever possible. And sometimes students will like put SQL injections into their active record, and they're like, oh, I didn't use active record. But really, like, as long as you're using these commands, these are your active record commands, and you can go ahead and inject SQL into these commands, because a lot of, like, active record gives us a lot of methods that we need. But what it comes down to is like, it's getting translated into SQL. So sometimes we have to use SQL where active record might fail. So for this, anytime, and this is like a note that I would write for yourself, anytime you have to do, what was the word I used? Just like a comparison operator, like the less than or the greater than or anything like that, we're just going to put it into a string, and that string is going to symbolize a SQL injection. It's going to get taken and it's going to get put right into your SQL. So I'll go ahead and say here where songs.length is greater than or equal to 200. And if I go ahead and just count this up, because it's a little hard to see. Actually, you know what? One thing that you can do to make this a little bit easier to see is you can put a PP in the front. It stands for pretty print. And when you do that, it gets printed out a little bit nicer, a little bit more readable. And again, that was just putting the PP in front of your command. So we get those songs back that we got from our 1, 2, 3, 4, from our SQL command here, those 4 back. Questions on where?
I was noticing something that I was curious.
Yeah.
If you scroll up, when it's showing you like what the SQL equivalent of that active record, if you keep going up, it has like a limit.
Yeah.
Limit 11. Is that just like?
This is associated.
Built in to active record?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, if you want to do more research on this, you can. I honestly don't know what this is doing, but I know it has something to do with the string that I put in here. It is not actually limiting the response that you get back, but it's limiting like the condition it's looking for. So I don't have a great answer for you on that one, other than it's not the limit that you're thinking of. Brian?
Yeah, can you mix kind of like how you have that hash title, I really like you, and a SQL injection? Can you mix both, or does it have to be one or the other?
Can you say that example again that you just said?
So like at the top of your terminal right now, it says title, I really like you. You're looking for that conditional. Can you like also do a SQL injection at the same time as like another, or like maybe one side of the conditional or a different conditional or something?
So are you saying like, so copy this one.
So just as an example would be like select where the song title is I really like you and the length is, you know, greater than 200. Not that we actually have one of those, but.
Yeah. So if you were doing that in just like purely active record with like a little mix here, you could say like title is I really like you. And you're saying like also add another condition here and say like with a SQL injection, songs.length is greater than 200.
Yeah, if you were like building an and conditional or whatever you wanted to do. Yeah.
Unexpected. Songs.length is greater than 200. Oh. You can. I'm trying to think. There is a way to do it with just a comma separated. I wonder if we do like a purely SQL injection, if we did like songs.title is equal to I really like you, and then we did the and operator like this, or actually I think we can just type in and songs.length is greater than or equal to 200. So if we did that, that gives that back to us. So you can do it with like a full SQL injection. I know you can also do it just with a comma separated. So I don't know why that didn't work just then. Oops. Oops. Yeah, I'd have to look into that a little bit more, but it looks like you can go ahead and put a SQL injection for both of them. And I'll have to get back, excuse me, I'll have to get back to you on whether or not you can do like a mixture of both.
Is it because you're using the colon and not a hash rocket?
Let's try it. So here, even though this is active record, like that, yeah. I don't know. Let me look into a little bit more. Okay. And if you want to look into it more, you're welcome to. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll get into the last two, and then I'll set you off on some things to do on your own. I'll put the timer up here for y'all. And if you're all having issues with, if anyone's having issues with the repo that we're going to use in a little bit, let me know.
Meg, if you're sticking around, what did you say about the double quotes versus single quotes?
Yeah, so if you're working in SQL, you have to use single quotes. Double quotes do not work in a purely SQL injection or just like a SQL query.
Okay.
I had a quick question on this repo that we are going to be working on.
Yeah.
Well, I guess really any repo. When you create the database, do you need to run migrate, or is it going to do that automatically?
You'll have to run that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you think about like when you run Rails DB create, it's pretty much creating, like if we were to draw it, I would create like, or I would draw a cylinder for testing database and draw a cylinder for the development database. And then that Rails DB migrate is taking the instructions from your database migration folder, and it's running those and putting the tables into those databases.
Also, can you wrap create, migrate, and seed in parentheses after DB colon?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
To be able to just like get all three out of the way?
Yeah, you're saying like Rails DB, if you wrap them in curly brackets, create, comma, migrate, comma, seed, it'll do that all for you at once.
Cool.
Ethan, are you on right now?
Yeah.
And you tried running bundle exec rspec?
Yes. Let me see what the error is. Current error is could not find rake 13.0.1 in any of the sources.
And you've updated your bundle?
I have updated bundle. It should at least be on that 1.17.3.
Okay. Can you run bundle, or can you just run bundle update and make sure that that runs through all right?
Yeah. Right. And then
No errors
else?
on that let you
No.
update?
Not that I saw, no.
Okay. Go ahead and try running your tests again.
Still can't find rake. And just running rspec gives me the same error.
Can you read that to me again? Or can you share your, we're about out of time. Okay, I'll come back to you and see if we can figure it out.
Ready?
All right, let's go ahead and finish this up. Cool. So for the where, I'm going to go ahead and copy that example that we did here, which was this one. This is not letting me copy it. Just put this here for now. Cool. Next one that I want to take a look at is this order by. We talked about in the previous slide, we talked about order by being either automatically for alphabetical order or in ascending numeric order. So let's go ahead and look at some examples of this. Let's start in SQL and let's just say select, let's just select the name, or sorry, I keep saying name, the title from songs, so that we can see, like that's really all I want to look at to make sure that it's getting ordered alphabetically. And I can go ahead then and say order by. Order by is what you use in SQL. Order is what you use in Active Record. So order by is a SQL command. Order is the Active Record command. Order by songs.title. So I tell it the attribute that I want it to order by. Put my semicolon here. And what am I missing? Ah, the from songs. So it doesn't know what it's pulling from. I didn't put that table there. So select songs.title from songs, and then let's order by the title. And you can see here, this is in alphabetical order. If I wanted this to be, maybe I wanted it to be opposite alphabetical order, Z to A, we can, after this attribute that we tell it we want to order by, we can put this keyword of descending, but just the abbreviation, DESC. And now if we take a look at it, it does it the opposite way. So if you ever want to flip the order of it, DESC is what you'll use in SQL. You'll also use that same abbreviation in Active Record, which you'll see in a second. To kind of show you this with numbers, let's say I wanted to, let's select like, let's do that again, title and the length. And then let's also say order by songs.length. And if we leave this off and just say like order by the length, we can see it automatically orders it by the length of each of those songs. If I do the same thing again and just say, put this in descending order, we see it the opposite way. Yes, Christian. Yep.
Similar to before. Can you go back to that SQL screen that you're at?
Yep.
Similar to before, since you're not selecting like play count, you could not at this point order by play count.
Let's try it. Songs dot play count. This is fun. You still can. So select, you can still order by something even if you haven't selected it. Selecting it is just, it's just like what it's going to return to you. So you've like ordered it, but it's only like going to show you these things out of what you just ordered.
So then in an active record though, you would not be able to select song's title and then order by or whatever.
Let's try it. I think you can. And this kind of goes into like, there's a little bit of an order of operations that happens here. And again, we'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about grouping and aggregates. But for this order by, let's do an active record and then I'll come back to kind of explaining how this is working. So if we're gonna go ahead and let's run through those examples that we had before. Let's say song dot, I'm not gonna select anything just because I don't like seeing those nils. And actually, yeah, to get to what Mike, you kind of were saying, I will have to select something. So let's say select title, and let's go ahead and order. Order is the command that we're gonna use here. Order by title. And so I get Call Me Maybe, Don't Stop Believin', I Really Like You. Oh, there's more up here. So I get all those songs back to me, and you can look at the titles and see that they're all in alphabetical order. If you want to say that it's descending, the syntax for this in active record is to have your colons look at each other. So title colon, colon, descending. And that's like just like a weird syntax thing that's how it's used in active record, but that's how it needs to be. And then you can see that it gets flip-flopped there. Same thing if we wanted to do, let's go ahead and select the length just so we can see it. And we say like, let's go ahead and do, oops. Let's go ahead and do length in descending order. You can see then we have 600 to 300 to 250, and it's going down. Let me copy this just because this was my example that I put on my slide. I'll come back to that screen in a second.
So every time we use active record, does it come out like in that big block of text? It's not organized all nicely like when a SQL query is
Yeah, it's not. You can, if you really, like, it is nice to be able to see it the way that SQL has it returned to you. You can download a gem, I think it's called Table Print. And that's, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but it'll make it a lot nicer for you. It'll display similar to how it displays in SQL, because that is much nicer to see. You can always prepend it with this like PP pretty print, but it's not going to be the same. It just comes out like lists. So it's a little bit nicer than this giant ugly block, but still not as pretty as SQL is. Okay, Mike, your question. So you're saying, let's actually just use this. If we're saying like, let's not actually select length, but let's try and order by length, that's kind of what you're asking too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try that, and it still works. So this select kind of happens after you've done any type of like filtering to your data. So in this case, like if we did a where or if we did an order, it's like a way that we're kind of filtering it. We're organizing our data, and then the select kind of happens after that. So it doesn't happen left to right. It's kind of like the last thing that happens. But you don't need to select something in order to order by that.
Does that apply in SQL as well?
Yep. Yeah. So that's what we saw here. This like songs.title, select songs length, and then we tried ordering by the play count, same thing.
So then an active record, do you have to call select before you would call order, or could you call order first so that visually you kind of knew what was happening? Like you're ordering it first and then you were selecting.
So you're saying like, let's do this down here.
Order and then select.
Select title and just title. So again, in active record, your order doesn't necessarily matter because it gets translated into SQL, and that translation, your ORM is going to put it into the order it needs to be. Whereas in SQL, let's try it here. If I were to try to do like, take this, let's actually just take, yeah, we'll copy this. And then, get rid of this here. Your order does matter in SQL. So if I were to try and like put this back here, that doesn't work. So in SQL, your order does matter. In active record, like order still matters, but your active record is going to translate it and put it into the order it needs to be in order to get read into the SQL language. The only thing that you have to worry about, I shouldn't say only, there's other things you need to worry about, but like we haven't really gone through that yet. But as far as like what you all know so far, like things like pluck, and pluck's really the only one that I can think of right now that returns something that isn't an active record association. That's the only thing that does need to go at the end, because there isn't a translation for pluck in SQL.
On the pluck note,
yeah,
can we call just any Ruby method after calling pluck?
Yes.
Like any Ruby method that would work on an array.
Yep, exactly. Now it's just a Ruby array, so you can do whatever you want with that array.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there any?
Go ahead.
Is there any convention around writing active record? Like, should we try to match normal SQL syntax with the select in front of the order? Because that just looks really wrong to me.
Yeah, convention is to try and keep it in the same order that SQL would be written in. But it's like, yeah, I think it's just like something to know that the order doesn't necessarily matter in active record, but it does in SQL. Is that kind of what you're asking, Andy? Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? Cool. Let me look really quick at this. The last two things that I want to look at is this limit here, and this one's like a quick one to kind of go over. Again, limit is just returning or limiting, geez, restricting the amount of responses that you get back. So in this case, if I'm getting back all of my songs, if I just say .limit 2 and give it the number of things I want it to limit to or restrict it to, then it just gives me back the first 2 that were in that query. If I wanted the last 2 in that query, then I think that would go with like, okay, how did you order it? You wanted the last 2, then let's take off this descending and let's take those last 2. So you can kind of like decide which ones you want to grab the top of based off of that, how you order it. In SQL, limit works the same exact way. It's the same exact word as well. So in this one, let's actually get one that works. Does that one work? Cool. And if I were to put let's get rid of this descending for right now and just say limit 2, it gives me back, actually, let me just have it, it's showing the descending above it. So that's what it looks like right now, my query. And then if I just put that limit 2 in there, that's when I get back the first 2 off of there. Again, if I wanted it to be the opposite way, and I wanted the bottom 2, I could go ahead and just say, let's go ahead and make this descending and then limit it to 2. The distinct, I can't really replicate this right now because in my database, I don't have any repeats of anything or like any of the titles that are the same. So I'm just going to pull up the lesson plan for this just so y'all see it. This is something that is super helpful when you have like repeats of data, especially when you have like a join. We'll use this distinct more when we're talking about joins, which is next Monday. We'll talk about that. So if this distinct method doesn't really make sense or it's not sticking right now, don't worry too much about that. But this distinct will only give back, you can think of it as a unique. Like a Ruby unique is like only giving you back like unique responses. So for some reason, let's say like you had 2 songs that had the same title. There's plenty of songs out there that like have repeats of the same title. So you could say like, I only want a list of unique songs, right? Even though it's from a different artist or something like that. Maybe for some reason you just wanted to show like all of the titles and not have any repeats in there. then we could say like distinct, select distinct songs.title, and then it would get rid of any repeats. Same thing here, this dot distinct is just a method that you can put on the end. This still returns an active record object. So this isn't like pluck. It's still an active record object. So this could go anywhere. You could put it before the select as well. Again, that's something that we'll talk a little bit more about on Monday. Any questions with any and all of these?
Yeah, I have a clarifying question. When is like okay, this is not something you just taught over, but there's a first method, right? You grab the first of something.
Yeah.
It also accepts an argument where you can limit the number of responses. Like you can put first 3.
Yeah.
Is there an occasion when I would want to use limit over first? Because they essentially do the same thing, right?
Let's try it. Let's see how it gets translated. So if we were to say like song dot first 2, that's kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets translated into a limit of 2. So it's the same thing. Yeah. Tyler, question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask how find works. Just
Yeah.
that, like, can we only pass in an ID to it? Is it basically saying where ID equals, and that's the argument we give it?
Exactly. So this song.find, select all the songs from songs where the song's ID is, and this is it over here, where the song's ID is 6.
Awesome.
Yes. Andy?
With limit in active record, is there a way to, rather than select 5 or 6, to select, say, the 50% or some percentage?
Yeah, I think that you would kind of do like I think you would have a subquery in there. So if you said like you wanted to like limit it to, or if we said like first, and then in here I could say something like song.count divided by 2.
Okay.
So you see how I did like a subquery in there of like the song, like however many are in there divided by 2, that would be half of them, how many I'm selecting. Okay. I don't know if there's a percentage. You can take a look at that. That'd be interesting. And if you find that, let me know. But I don't know one off the top of my head. Mike?
These active record methods, they are active record methods, not necessarily Ruby methods. So you couldn't just tack a unique onto the end of that. You would have to tack a distinct onto the end.
Yeah, let's try it. So your unique can like, this is tricky. So your
unique
coming
back as an array, right?
Yeah, it does work because you're using it on an array, and unique can be used on an array. But that distinct, I think they would. Oops, distinct first for array. Oh, it looks like that first gives me back an array, not an active record association. That might be the difference, Ryan. Do you see that? Let me try it with a limit. Let's say limit 5. And then if I try and call distinct on that, does that work? That does. So it looks like first returns an array, like a Ruby array, and limit returns an active record association. That looks like that's the difference. Yeah, that's new to me. But yeah, distinct. So let's try calling unique on this one. And that still works. So you can call it. You want to use active record wherever you can, because active record is just going to be quicker than actual Ruby. Because if you look at the docs for Ruby, it's iterating through everything when it's trying to unique something, whereas active record is just much quicker speed, it being an ORM. Brian?
This question may be a little nuanced, but if you're doing, let's say you're doing an active record search and you're selecting, say like play count, and you have active record objects that have multiple, like duplicate play count.
Yeah.
Are those the same object? Would their object IDs be the same, or are they separate things?
They're separate. If their play counts are the same.
Right, like it's returning an object, and that object, like whatever the contents are the same. Is Ruby going to try and save space by making them the same object, or
no? It's looking at those IDs. So it's looking at like if you were to select all from something, it's going to make sure, it's kind of like, I think of it as like consolidating it. Like if you for some reason had song 6 returned to you multiple times and you called a distinct on it, then it's going to consolidate that to just one song. If you only selected the play counts though, and then called a distinct on it, then it would consolidate those two.
right? But they're going to be separate objects, like they're referencing a separate object ID inside Ruby.
Not necessarily. Let's look at this. So let's look at, oops. 200. I don't have any that are the same here. Let me go ahead and put one in here really quick, or let's just change this one to be 300. And I'm going to jump out of this and run it again. Ah, shoot. I didn't actually reseed it. It's not going to let me. So I just added one in that had the same length. I want to reseed it just so we can kind of see that in action. Cool. And if I drop into my console again, okay. So let's just make this simple. So let's say, what if we tried doing select distinct songs.all? So like we're selecting everything and we want like all of the distinct songs from songs. Yeah, let's do it like that. So this gives me back all of the songs that I have. But if I were to say select songs.length from songs, it only gives me back those.
Right, but if you're doing it with active record.
Let's try that again. So do the same thing that I did over here in active record.
Yeah, but then call an object ID on each one of the active record objects it's returning.
Well, that's the thing though, is if you're only selecting the length, then it's not going to return an ID. So if we said like song.select, let me look at this again real quick. Where did?
Yeah, this question's kind of nuanced. Like if you want to continue with the class, that's cool. Okay. I can check it later. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No, it's okay. I think that it's worth noting that the distinct only works for like it consolidates things that are identical. And it would work the same in active record. I was just looking for syntax for that. But I appreciate that. I'll get back to you if you aren't able to figure that out on your own. Let's jump into, I'm going to drop something in your channel really quick. I need to get a charger soon. Okay. So you all have cloned down, I think most of you by now have cloned down the Little Shop application. And that is going to be really similar to, actually, let me just drop this really quick. There you go. So these are different query commands that I want you all to try in your repo that you pulled down, that Little Shop. Take a look at your schema so you know what you have access to. And I want you all to try it in SQL and Active Record. So I'm going to put here to drop into SQL you're going to go ahead, I'm just writing this in your channel right now. You're going to run Rails DB console, and then to drop into active record, you'll go ahead and just say Rails C. So open 2 tabs and try to get each of those queries done. Any questions on this? I'm gonna pause y'all when I need to go get my charger. This is dying quick. So go ahead right now, go ahead and see if you can get that set up. I'm gonna put you in breakout groups once I come back with my charger. But make sure you get these those 2 terminals open just like I had over here. I'll be right back.
Is there a way in our console to see the name of all of our tables in our database?
In your console? No. I would just look at your schema.
Okay.
And see what tables are in there. You will have to make sure that you run Rails DB migrate, create, and seed once you're into your Little Shop app. I'm going to put this in your chat. Actually, I'm just going to put it in Slack. Is anyone having issues either getting your database set up or dropping into your PSQL or your Rails C?
Yeah, I can't drop into the SQL.
Okay, what are you running? You just ran that Rails DB console. Are you currently did you CD into it?
Yeah, I'm in the Little Shop. It says could not connect to server, fatal, database, Little Shop, starter, development does not exist.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing.
You are. If you run,
I bundled installed and then I ran the migrate as well.
Did you run create first?
To create the database?
Yeah, create it first. I just dropped this in your channel.
Okay.
Oh wait, sorry, I just did it the opposite way. I didn't write that right. Create, migrate, and then seed. Your migrate probably didn't work, so just be aware of that when you run it. If you didn't create your database, it probably didn't work on your migrate, so make sure you're reading outputs when you run things.
So I'm doing that Rails DB create seed migrate or create migrate seed, and that doesn't work either.
You want to show your screen, Alex?
Yeah.
It may be a typo. It says the 1906 database does not exist inside the 1908 directory. So I don't know.
Let me take a look at. Actually, hold on one second.
I was able to do it with that command. Thank you.
With the one that I pasted.
Create and then seed, then or migrate, then seed. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, you know what? I must have made a typo or something. That just worked also.
Okay. Did someone else say that they're having an issue? And then Alex, you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen and I'll jump on. Is anyone else having an issue connecting? Anna?
Yeah, I had Atom open earlier and then it just closed automatically, like by itself.
Okay.
And now it just will not open at all. So I feel like I need to restart the whole thing because I killed the.
Are you trying to open Atom from your terminal?
Mm-hmm.
Open it manually, just like go ahead and open it from your applications and then try opening it from your terminal.
Okay.
Anyone else having issues dropping into those sessions?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Josh, what are you getting?
I am just now trying one more time. I just get a series of command or possibilities like runtime options, Rails options. I did that. I'm trying it one more time. Rails DB, the triple command that you just dropped in.
Yeah. Are you sure that you're in your repo right now?
I sure am. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and try dropping that again and see what happens, or running that again.
1 second. Yeah, it didn't work.
Okay,
And
can you see if you can share your screen?
And I set up another computer, so I'm on Zoom
Okay.
so I can't.
Okay, let's do this. Can I just get in the participants tab right now? I know some of y'all are already getting started on this, but in the participants tab, can I get a yes if everything is working for you right now, and can I get a no if you are still needing some help getting this set up? Okay, I'm gonna put all of y'all in breakout groups, and those of you that are a no, just don't accept your breakout group yet, and I'll help you all get into it. Looks like just a few of you. Tyler, is yours working? Tomlinson?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And then Mike, is yours working?
So my DB console is working and I can run those fine.
Okay.
But Rails C
Okay.
is not.
I'll have you stay on. So you and Josh and anyone else that's having issues, stay on. I'm going to put you on breakout groups, and feel free, like within those groups, talk through some of these problems together, okay? I'll bring you back around 10:50, so about 10 minutes in your breakout groups. Oops. All right. See y'all. Okay. So, Josh, let's take a look at yours first. So can you say that one more time? What's happening? When you ran what and what did you see come up? Oh, you're muted.
I ran that command twice now, or 3 times. That triple seed create, migrate, and seed at the same time. And hold on 1 second. Rails DB : create migrate seed, and all I get is a list of just a laundry list of things that I can do in Rails, like Rails checkout. There's edge, no edge, repository, for Rails command. It's just like,
yeah, like that method's not working.
Things that I can do.
Josh, can you share your screen?
He's on a different monitor setup right now, so he can't.
Oh, okay.
Can you try it? Go ahead, Corey.
I'm just thinking in my head, like, what directory are you currently in? Because I'm wondering if it's not registering if it's a Rails project or not.
Little Shop 1908 is.
Okay. All right, and did you also, you ran bundle?
No, that might be the issue. Hold
Okay,
on.
go ahead and do bundle install. Corey, can I put you in a breakout group with Mike and see if you can figure out his issue?
Sure.
Cool. Is that all right with you, Mike?
Yeah,
I
that's
had
fine.
this. I'm sorry. I had this problem. I think with the adopt don't shop, and I forgot what the solution is. I did bundle install and could not locate gem file. Is the response that I got?
Oh, I don't think I can put you all in another group. Sorry.
Sorry, I jumped into that wrong group. I mean, I can totally do this just in SQL, but for whatever reason, the active record part isn't working. But my database is working. I can run all the queries in SQL.
Okay, I'll have you jump into that group then that you were invited to.
I already jumped out of it.
Oh, okay. Let me put you back in it. Sorry. Thanks for being patient, y'all.
No worries. And I might just be doing something wrong too, so it's fine.
All right, I'm gonna move you to a new group. There you go. Did you get an invite, Mike?
No, but okay, there you go.
Cool. All right, Josh. Sorry. Let's try and figure this out.
So now it says could not locate gem file when I ran bundle install, and I see the gem file right here pre-populated with bug eye, RSpec, capybara, and everything's there.
If you scroll to the bottom of your gemfile.lock, what version does it say you're on for your bundler?
The bottom of bundled with 1.17.3.
Interesting. Okay. Can you go ahead and run bundle update?
Yep. Could not locate gem file. I can probably end, well, I don't know what's best. I was thinking I could switch over to the screen that I'm on and with Adam. And screen share with you. I'd have to get off this Zoom and fire it up on my other one.
Let's try that, because even if we don't have time to get you into a breakout session, we at least have it set up so you can try it on your own.
Yeah.
So go ahead and jump out of this, see what you can do, and then jump back into the same meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Woof.
Problems all over the place today.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad, but there's versioning issues. I feel like everyone was fine though, other than Ethan and those two.
I just still don't know why Ethan is still having issues.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and see if you can screen share, Josh. Oh, Anna, did you get kicked out of your group?
Yeah, I got kicked out of internet.
Which group were you in? Who were you with?
I'm not sure. I got kicked out before the group was given to me.
I'm gonna put you into a new group.
Thank you.
Yeah. See ya. All right, Josh. Okay. Kind of locate jump file, little shop.
I think I see the problem.
What is it?
Josh, can you type in the terminal CD space little shop 1908 again? We're nested. I think this may be it. And try bundle now.
Oh yeah, over there on his tree, huh? Interesting. So you made a folder for Little Shop and then put your actual app inside that folder. All right. Can you see if you run bundle exec rspec, are your tests all running? Anna, are you still on? No, she's frozen on there. Okay.
Bundle exec rspec, exec.
exec. No inspect. There you go. exec rspec. Cool. Go ahead and run that command of Rails DB, that one that we dropped, create migrate seed. And Josh, you're muted right now, just so you know. I'm not sure if you're trying to say anything. There you go.
Got you. Just 1 second. I had to look over on the screen again.
No, you're fine. No worries. Cool. And then go ahead and try running that command again for testing. Bundle exec rspec. Okay. Looks
Great.
like
So the problem was just I should have gone into my primary directory of module 2 and not created that little shop 1908
Yeah.
when I cloned into it. Okay.
Yeah, or just like, I mean, it's fine how you have it right now. I guess it's not necessary to have it nested like that, but just going one level deeper to actually get to your repo. But yeah, I think that the failure of like can't find gem file should kind of be an indicator of, oh, maybe I'm not in a Rails app right now. So just taking a look at that next time you see that happen again.
Wait, please describe that one more time. So yeah. I didn't see, if I don't see that gem file, that I was not in a Rails.
Yeah, that kind of signifies to me. So your error that you were getting was can't find gem file, right? When you're trying to run like a bundle exec rspec or something like that.
Okay.
And so if it can't find a gem file, then it must mean that it's not in an app with a gem file. And so my first go-to is like, oh, okay, well, are you actually in your Rails app? And that, I think that was like one of the first questions I asked, but it was confusing because your folder is named the same as this project, of just like, okay, are you sure you're in your directory? So just make sure that that's the case if that issue ever comes up again.
Got it. I will. I won't make that mistake again by creating that file and then dropping or cloning into it. However, just out of curiosity, what is that folder that I created? What kind of file is that?
Just a folder.
Just a, okay.
Yeah, just a folder to hold other things in it.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to pull everyone back in about a minute, so I'm going to leave you on here, okay?
Okay.
And then Josh, go ahead and take off your screen share. Thanks. All right. I think everyone's back. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and I just want to see kind of where y'all got to. So I'm gonna drop this question. Don't make a thread yet. It's in your Slack channel, so if you look at that. So I'm starting to like emoji 1, 2, 3, so on. It goes all the way up to 10. So if you can emoji poll in there how many you were able to get through, that would be great. Just let me know kind of like what we're able to do during that time. Again, in Slack right now, I just posted a question. So just emoji with how many you were able to get through.
All of us, or just like one person per group?
All of you. Yeah, like individually, how many were you able to get through? Okay. And what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to drop for the queries that I gave you all. What you'll notice is that some of these queries can be done multiple ways, but I'm going to drop to you some like possible solutions that you could have used for all of these queries. I'll drop that in your channel once we're done here. But I want to spend, I don't have quite as much time, but I want to spend the last 6 minutes that we have here just answering some questions. Was there anything not necessarily specifically related to those queries that you just did, like how'd you do this one? Because I'll drop that in a second. But were there any like broad general questions that any of y'all had regarding this like intro to SQL, intro to active record that we did today? Ethan?
So I know for one of the questions I had was, I know how to do conditionals with SQL injection for active record. I'm sorry if you mentioned this, but what is the way to do that if I didn't want to use SQL injection?
Yeah, so with that, like you will have to use some form of SQL injection. And let me jump into this really quick and drop into real C. The other way that you might see it sometimes is, so if we said like song.where and we wanted like songs.play count greater than 100, like that's with a full SQL injection. And so anytime we're using that like comparison operator, we have to use some form of SQL injection. You can also, you'll see it like this, of like songs.play count question mark, and then after here, you say like what you're looking for. So that's another way that you'll see it. This is more like active records syntax, but I'm totally fine with you just doing it as one SQL query like this.
But that's still, so for that second one, that's still SQL injection though, right?
Exactly. Yep. So you'll still have to use some form of it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Tony?
So I'm just trying to understand, is this primarily going to be for us to sort of get an understanding of return values? Like, is this process that we're learning right now sort of like learning pry, or are we actually going to be instituting what we're configuring in the console in our code base? I'm just a little sort of, I'm trying to make a connection.
I get what you're saying, because up until now, we haven't had to use any of these queries in your projects. This comes in handy. Let's say like for the project that you just did, let's say you only wanted to display the dogs that were, or the pets that were adoptable. That would be a SQL query. So like I'm sending off to the view pets.where adoptable status equals true, or something like that. So that would be a way that I would use a SQL query to be able to render something to the page. Like I'm only giving my view what it needs to see. So you will have to use these in like this upcoming project and going forward, but you haven't had to use them yet.
And just so I'm clear, so we'd be using the SQL syntax and not the active record syntax?
You
Or
want to
both?
use active record.
Okay,
Yeah.
so active record is, so SQL we're learning so that we understand what it does, but the active record is what we're actually going to be instituting into our code base.
Correct, and it's totally fine to use SQL injections within your active record. A lot of times you'll realize you have to do that. But when we talk about using active record, we're specifically talking about like calling something on a class, which relates to a table, and using all of those active record methods. Because if we were to just use plain old SQL, we would get back raw data, which we as Ruby developers working with objects, we have no idea how to use that raw data. So we're using active record to be able to convert it into objects for us.
Makes total sense now. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions?
Just so we're super clear on that, most of these queries would take place in the model, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Model method that does the query for you. And tomorrow, I think you have an MVC class that you'll go over a little bit more of that, where that logic belongs. Any other hands? All right, y'all. I will go ahead and drop in your channel solutions to those if you haven't gotten through all of those. And looking into the rest of today, let's go ahead. Let's come back at 11. Let's do like a little bit of a longer break. Let's come back at 11:15, and we'll do the project kickoff then and give you all your pairs. And I'm just looking at the calendar really quick. Yeah, 11:15 we'll do the pair project kickoff. 1 to 2, y'all have a DTR, so make sure you get that on the calendar. If someone could do me a favor and find the DTR template that you used last mod and just pin it to the channel. I know y'all have access through that from Allison, I believe. So if someone can find that and pin it to the channel, that would be great. And then this like cookies and sessions exploration, I talked about this in the agenda earlier today. If you look at the calendar, the lesson for that is linked in the calendar. And then there's just like a little CFU to finish up. This is just getting you ready so that you have like a little bit of a background knowledge before getting to Wednesday's lesson for cookies and sessions. This CFU, I don't think I put a due date on it, but like use that time if you want to work on that. I'm going to say like if you need to work with your project partners on something, that's fine. But we want that CFU to get in before Wednesday morning. So make sure you get the exploration done before Wednesday morning. It's not necessary that you do it this afternoon, but we just have a little spot in the calendar for you to use that time if you need to. Any questions on how the rest of the day goes? Cool.
Hey, sorry,
yeah,
Nick, I do
go
have a
ahead,
question.
Andy.
What should we have like ready to show you for project evals? What are you guys going to want to see?
Make sure you have your app ready on production. And like anything seeded in there that we can like actually play around with. I know Mike has been going through them already, so he already has a good idea of like where his evaluees are at with their projects. And I'll be doing that over lunch, so I'll have like a good idea of like where everyone got to. And then also have everything. So you want to have your production app ready and up, and you want to have your actual code up so we can review that. Also have your terminal ready so that we can run your tests and see what your test coverage is. So production, text editor, terminal.
So it's
When
cool
you say
for us.
production,
Thanks.
Tony?
So it's cool for us to push to Heroku to add some more seeds to our database if
That's
they're
fine.
sort of weak. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Good
and you were
question.
saying that for production, you mean having the Rails server up, or you want to look at it through Heroku?
Heroku.
Okay.
Yep. All right. All right, we'll see you all back here at 11:15. I'll put a link in the channel or in the calendar for that Zoom meeting. See y'all.